Hi, you're watching 20 Questions with. I'm Harry Reardon, author of The Recluse on Amazon and Audible. Thank you so much for watching. Before you do anything, hit the bell, like, subscribe so you get notified for more. And if you're going to jump to the comments before you do, just take a second. Just think about it. Go a long way. Thank you, and we hope you enjoy the next video. Spencer, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone. My name is Spencer, and I'm actually the creator of We Are Gods. And I'm 35 years old, and I've been a Satanist back in the day, and I pretty much enjoyed it. It wasn't all bad. You know, you have a mixture of good and bad experiences, but you know what? You make the best out of it. And I'm happy to be here in this interview.
Thank you very much. So
Right.
let's go back. Let's give a bit about your background, where you grew up, what your early life was like, any satanic dealings in your early life. And
Well, actually, definitely, yes. On my channel of We Are Gods, I actually made an audiobook. It's almost an hour long. And I touched on very important points of my earlier childhood, where at the age of 6, I remember me and my younger brother were on the bunk bed, and it levitated all by itself, 6 feet, and then it went like very lightly on the ground. And then my younger brother, because he was on the top bunk, looked at me and out of his sleep, and he was like, "Spencer, do it again, do it again, do it again." Because in our young minds, he's thinking that I levitated the bed. And I'm like, oh, wow, this is amazing. So being the older brother, I'm like, you know what? Let me just say out loud, whoever did that, do it again. And then it happened again. And it lightly went down on the floor. But that is the most earliest memory when it comes to anything that is paranormal, supernatural, or even satanic, according to how the world views it anyway, that I can remember. That's at the age of 6. But until then, I remember from that moment on, I didn't know anything about an Enki, a Satan, Lucifer, however way you label it as. I never knew anything about that because, mind you, I'm 6. So from that moment forward, I was introduced to Christianity, and then I've gotten out of that at the age of 23. And on the day that I left Christianity, it took 24 hours later. And in my audiobook, I said this very specifically, that I'm on my couch and I'm like, if religion doesn't have the answer for me, what does? And all of a sudden, in my mind, the same experience that happened when I was 6, something similar happened. In my mind, I am hearing Satanism constantly. And come on, let's be honest. If that ever happened to anyone listening, you'll be shocked because you're like, what is going on? And I'm like, okay, so I'm on my phone and I type up Satanism. And that's when the information led me to the JOS. I had to be maybe 23 at that time. And sure enough, like anyone else who's new to it, you're getting kind of freaked out because it's like it's just so new. And I'm reading the testimonials and it's intriguing me. And then that's when I realized at the age of 6, and even now, this paranormal activity has always followed me. And I never was afraid of it, only confronting it on a one-on-one basis when I really realized that, okay, this is what was following me throughout my whole entire life. And that was the start of me figuring out really what it is that I really wanted in my life. It wasn't Christianity per se, but Satanism from the Joy of Satan point of view was a good start. So that's how I could, plant the seeds. And then up until now at age 35, I'm not really a Satanist anymore, but I do appreciate all the things that I've learned at that time that led me to where I'm at now, the negative and the good.
what are they?
Okay, the first I'll start with the positive. The positive that I've dealt with the Joy of Satan, like with any other group, even going further back into Christianity, you have good and bad no matter where you go. It's in every group, any school, university, job, whatever have you. But the positive is that it felt like a home to me, whenever I had a question, they will always be there to help me with meditations and so forth. So I always had like an internet forum to help guide me if I needed such guidance. The negative is once I got to a certain point in my development, that's when I start seeing that it was very divisive. Meaning, and mind you, a female that I liked at the time was in fact Jewish, but she was a known Satanist, but she wasn't part of the Joy of Satan. But that particular group did not like Jewish people. And at that point, I was developing what is called a cognitive dissonance. You're believing in two different things at the same time. I'm looking at the woman next to me that is Satanist, but yet she didn't belong to such a group because she wasn't even allowed to. So what I'm learning is really juxtaposed to the person that I care most about. So believe me, it was very difficult.
And sorry, you grew up as a Christian. Can you say a little bit about that?
Yeah, growing up as a Christian, it really paint a lot more of a bigger picture. So in other words, when you stay on the topic of what is considered good and bad, it really helped me to appreciate how Christianity sees things. And when you have a bigger scope on both sides, you have a bigger picture. And by growing up as a Christian, I enjoyed it. It was nothing necessarily negative about it. It's just that what drew me away from it is that I was raised as a fundamentalist. And being a fundamentalist, it's just black and white. That's the only color you get. And any other color, you need permission to actually see it. And that didn't work out for me. So in a sense, it was like a creative difference. It had nothing to do with I hate a Yahweh as a Satanist would put it. It was more like I have no qualms with it. I just don't share that belief because it's too extreme for me. And then I was able to move out of that.
Now, how does the Joy of Satan work? How do you get involved in something like that? How do you find them?
Okay, well, it's actually very easy. You just Google the name Joy of Satan. Anyone could do that, and their information will pop up. And there's a forum that they have right now. Years ago, 8-10 years ago, when I was a part of it, I think it was Joy of Satan on like a Yahoo group, and I think they shut that down. Right now, they go by like a different website. I think it's like an ancientforums.com or something like that. But I have to physically type it in to actually get the correct spelling. But they still do exist now. You just have to type it up, and that's how you get involved.
Is there some kind of initiation or buy-in?
It's not so much a initiation. I mean, there is. Anyone is able to initiate themselves. You have to go through some sort of ritual. It's a satanic ritual that you go through. It's called a dedication ritual. But those who are not allowed are, in fact, individuals that are, well, Jewish. So, they have everyone else but this group of people. So, yeah.
And what is that sort of ritual?
Well, it enterprises with having a couple of candles, either it be a black candle, which is preferred, blue or red, and you're able to light that. You would have to write out some sort of pact or contract to Satan, Enki, Lucifer, however way that you want to relate to it. But in this particular group, Joy of Satan, they refer to as Satan, and you speak about how you want to dedicate yourself to Satan. And then at the end of whatever it is that you are requesting, at the end of that contract, that dedication, you are writing your name in blood, you prick your finger, and then you could either burn it or you put it away somewhere that helps you to understand in a figurative sense that you had devoted your life to Satan. But it's only later on in life when I started to realize there are numerous ways that you could do that. But that is what the Joy of Satan believes in.
And what drew you to this group?
To me, it was more of expanding my consciousness and education, because after leaving Christianity, it didn't provide a satisfiable and reliable answer that worked for me. So I tried the Joy of Satan. And for a while, like with anywhere else in life, they start to provide answers that do work and you do agree with it. And it made me feel comfortable at first, up until the whole thing with Jews have to be separate from Gentiles and so forth. And they're very gung-ho about that.
Yeah, so the Joy of Satan believes that the Jews are the result of semi-humanoid DNA being spliced with the DNA of alien lizard people, and they're conspiring against the human race. Now, were you aware of the anti-Semitic nature of the group before joining?
I was, but I didn't take it seriously. I always thought that the reason why I say that is when you join a group for a first time, it takes a while for you to understand who's in charge, who actually does this and that. So that could just be anybody writing some sort of bigotry against a group. It's only when you start to put in some months, some real time in, you'll see like their leaders would be called high priestess. What is the name? It's been a while, but it's Maxine. And then there will be a male would be the high priest, hooded cobra 666. Those are the ones who would take the lead in educating everybody. So once I started to differentiate the hierarchy, that's when I realized like, oh, wow, this is not just a normal poster that's putting bigotry. This is really the belief of the Joy of Satan. That's when I knew.
And the group's founder, Maxine Dietrich, was married to Clifford Harrington, the chairman of the neo-Nazi organization. Were you aware of this when you joined?
No, it's only later on. It's always when you spend time with someone, these truths come out. I remember when I first introduced this information to the girl that I was interested in, she actually brought that information out to me. And I was shocked to hear that, even going to other websites. And I'm like, they all can't be lying about this particular group because they're saying the same thing. They're not using bigotry. They're not using the same language as the Joy of Satan. They're pointing out things that they themselves have posted, and they're putting it on their website saying this is what they're really about. It's a neo-Nazi group. And I'm like, oh my goodness, like this was like, it's coming out to me. And I'm like, this is like, I can't believe that this is what I represent. And slowly but surely, I started putting all the pieces together because remember, it's the internet. It's not something that because someone posts something, you have to believe it right away. You have to use critical thinking and it takes time. And then you'll start to understand it.
Did you meet Maxine?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I see a lot of her posts, about reptilians and how we have to separate the races and things of that nature. And it's only when that happened, that is the only affiliation that I've gotten. That's as close as you're going to get, or at least that's as close as I've gotten.
The group also venerates Hitler and believes he was a Satanist. Can you say a little bit about that?
Oh, definitely. I do remember reading that. And again, when I read that article, I always thought that it was just someone just spewing out their bigotry. But when I did do research on that, I do realize how intense that they were about the Black Sun, the Third Reich, and things of that nature. And I was like, wow, they're really gung-ho about it. And I remember my girlfriend at the time, she looked at my phone and she looked at that information. And remember, she comes from she's not a practicing Jewish female, like she's not a part of like, obviously like an Abrahamic faith. And once she's dating me, who's also a Satanist at that time. But the fact that it's still referring to her, either you're part of, the practicing religion or not, it's still affecting you. And seeing tears go down her eyes about the information right then and there, I could only go past just the preface of the articles. I didn't go any further because I saw the pain that was on her face. So I stopped there. It was affecting her.
Completely. Just going back just a little bit, and as someone that's never been in a cult or a Satanist group, how does it work? Like, do you guys meet up? Is there like a monthly meeting? Is there like a group chat?
Yeah, it's more like it can be potentially a group chat, but it's more like an internet thing where you're just yourself. You represent yourself. You go to this forum, and you write down particular things that you've learned and things of that nature. And every now and then, those who are the moderators would, accept certain things that you would put down on the website, or they would ban it and things of that nature. And that's really how that would go. Now, as far as people meeting up, that's an individual experience. I never had such an experience because I always had my girlfriend with me that would examine what it is that they would talk about, and they would look at this sort of thing, or she would look at this sort of thing, and she just saw it just so skeptical. She was not really with it at all.
And what is the end goal for Satanists, for this specific group? Have they got a...
Yes, they definitely do. Their end goal is to reach godhood. They want to be their own God, their own person. And I understand that, because even my own channel is We Are Gods. So I still have satanic beliefs in a sense where I hold, because I do understand where you want to liberate oneself. There's nothing wrong with that, but mine is more figurative, where I don't really believe in I'm going to walk on water as a Christian God would or anything like that. But it's figurative in a sense where you have to believe in yourself. Like, for example, if I put yourself in a situation where, or someone that you love, a woman that's being abused by some spouse or something, it's only when that enlightenment comes, when you realize this is wrong, you have to believe in yourself and your self-esteem rises. It's almost like a godly point of view that you're not a victim anymore. You have to stand up for yourself, and you break away from the herd, and now you become like almost this godly being, not in a literal sense, but you feel godly at that point where you stick up for yourself and you're like, I have nothing to do with this person, and now you break away. And that's what my channel represents, because it's still linked to that satanic belief and that empowerment. And that part I do believe in. And that part I think that Joy of Satan got correct.
What is the goal of your channel?
My goal is the same thing, except for I'm not saying to people to actually be a literal God in that sense of the way, because I feel that my channel is very diverse. See, I see myself as a male witch. When I look at other people, I always speak in a way where anybody could come to my channel at any path and any walk of life. And I don't want someone to feel nervous if they're a Christian and they just want to use my channel as a sort of basis to learn about witchcraft, Satanism, angelology. I have all that stuff on my channel. It's not like I believe in being in a box. And that's how I see Joy of Satan. It's being in a box. It's a reaction to Christianity. Mine is not a reaction to Christianity. It's more like anyone is welcome, and just be civil and respect other people's belief systems, even though it's primarily on a left-hand path. But I still welcome everybody. That's what my channel is about.
Was there a backlash to leaving the cult of Satan?
Not really. No, because again, if you think about it, you're at the comfort of your own home. If you're at the comfort of your own home and you just post, it doesn't really matter if you don't post anything, because there's no backlash to that. It's either you stay or you go. But the backlash that I did experience, though, is not with me personally. It's with another individual that really helped me to be who I am today by making this channel, because this person had an honest question. They put that question to the moderators and just anyone of the Joy of Satan. He simply said that he believed that the demon he was working with lied to them. And he's being, as far as I could tell, honest, because who would, do that? Someone would post that because it was a concern to them. And the backlash that person got was so bad. I mean, so many people grilled him, fired him, said that he was an imposter, he's Jewish, he's scum. And I felt so bad. And that's why my channel is not like that. If you have a question, you don't like my belief system, ask a question. I'm not going to flame you. I don't mind educating. And oh my goodness, that backlash was really bad.
Isn't it kind of in a demon's nature to lie, though?
Well, that's more of a myth. That's more of a myth, because when I look at my experiences with the Joy of Satan at the time, I never been lied to per se. It's more like, the way I see it if you don't understand something, that demonic is not going to, let's say, lie to you. But if the information is going to lead you to learn something new, then they're going to do that. It's no different being in a classroom. A teacher will give you a wrong answer to see your reaction and your response to it so that you could arrive at the right answer. You understand? That's been my experience. So I can't really speak for everyone, because if it did happen to someone, then that's their experience.
How were you perceived by the rest of the group, given that your race and the joy of Satan's connection to Nazism?
You know what? The interesting thing about that is there was no problem, because with the joy of Satan, they accept everyone. That means myself, yourself included, anyone. As long as you're not Jewish, you are invited. There's also certain parts of Joy of Satan where you have Joy of Satan for Asians, for those who are Latin, those who are Black, and so forth. They even have groups like that. And it just goes to show, like, they can be, they have a potentiality of being diverse, and they have shown that, but they really just discriminate against those who are Jewish. So anyone can really join, just about.
And literally, it's just Jewish that are not.
Right, absolutely. And that's why I said I'm going like a complete circle to the beginning when I think about my girlfriend at that time, where, she would not be, invited to it. Not that she wanted to be invited. It's more like, from her perspective, if I love her, why am I engaging in something that hates her? You know what I mean? And it's like, she's not a practicing Jewish woman, but, it comes full circle.
The Joy of Satan have published books containing what could be perceived as threats. For example, the statement that Israel will get what it deserves. Do you think they pose any credible threat to minorities?
I believe any group that does that, definitely, because if you read any book like that, either it's propaganda or not, you're going to see that as a perceived threat. It's no different than how we connect it to any part of the world. And it's up to that individual to either accept it or dispel it. So I'm not for it, because if you're not sensitive to the need of others and understanding where they're coming from, then you're not really going to get that message across. So yeah, that's how I would definitely answer that.
Thank you. You started having doubts about the group after developing an interest in Kabbalah, which is the school of Jewish mysticism. Can you say a bit about that, please?
Could you say that one more time?
You started having doubts about the group after developing an interest in Kabbalah, which is the school of Jewish mysticism. Is that right? Can you say a little bit about that?
Yeah. Actually, if I had it in front of me, I could have shown you. I'm looking up because I'm looking at my books. Like, I have a book on alchemy, I have Philema, and I have even some Christian books about Christianity. But the book that you're referring to, in fact, if you give me 1 second, I'll show you. Let me see here. It's somewhere here, but in fact, hold on, it's right here.
If you haven't already, make sure you like, subscribe, drop a comment as well. Buy my book, it's on Amazon.
Yeah, like, for example, this is the book, the Kabbalah. It is definitely Jewish mysticism. And I like that book because it helps you to appreciate about the 12 universal laws. Some people call it the 7 universal laws. They kind of vary it according to their needs and wants and how they're able to express themselves. I don't have a problem with it. It's something that I learned from. I won't say that I'm a part of it, but I definitely do take it seriously, as much as all the other esoteric books that I do have in my house.
And at what point did you choose to leave the Joy of Satanism behind for good? What was the final straw?
The final straw for me was when I realized that if you really use critical thinking skills and you are supposedly a satanic group, and you're saying that it's not a reaction to Christianity, whereas I come from a fundamental Christian background. That's a fact. I come from a fundamental Christian background, and it's only black and white. That's all you get. But yet, this group is doing the same exact thing. So if you connect that with a fundamental background, I saw that there was a connection. So all you're saying is that this one box is the correct way, and that's it. Everyone else is wrong but you. The joy of Satan says the same thing with people who are outside of that group and are Satanist. And I'm like, that's awkward. They would say that's not the true Satanism. Satanism is with us. We are the one and true Satanists. And then that's when I was like, no. I just came out of the frying pan and into the fire. It's just a worse situation.
And you've previously said that although you're not a member anymore, you still have respect for its founder, Maxine Dietrich. What's the reasoning behind that?
When I say, yeah, so if I could really express myself in that, it's more like I respect the leadership behind it when you have a group, because it's not easy to have a group and to dispense all that spiritual knowledge. Now, depending on what that spiritual knowledge that you're giving out and you're dispensing to people should be the real question. But the person itself and their leadership, I wouldn't mind that. I'm not saying that what the person is doing is completely right or wrong, because I feel there is no right and wrong answer up until you see it and you experience for yourself. Like, for example, if I'm a leader and I'm saying, put it in the same situation as the joy of Satan, and I'm saying only this group of people are not allowed, and I'm using propaganda, I have the right now to look at that, question that, and go, now I have evidence that I need not to represent this. But to keep it positive, not all Satanists believe in the same thing, because you have atheists who are Satanists, and you have theists that are Satanists. And that point of view is how I see the joy of Satan. It's just not for me, because there are people that get results from the joy of Satan and they feel that it's for them. I don't feel that I should get on camera, make a channel and badmouth a group that if they feel they have results, then go right ahead. I don't have to believe it. And that is really the key. It's really up to you if you're going to take it or leave it.
Absolutely. You now class yourself as an occultist rather than a Satanist.
Yes.
What's the difference?
Well, the difference for me is that you have to look at the word occultist as a broad umbrella. You know, it's like saying the word pagan. If you think about it, if you look at it from a Christian standpoint, this is just a example. Everyone is a pagan. A Satanist is a pagan, and someone who's doing Wicca is a pagan. Occultist is the same umbrella. It says a lot about me. It says that I could go into the Kabbalah, I could go into alchemy, I could go into any sort of system of magic, what works for me, because I see myself as a male witch. It's no different than being an occultist. Now, if someone says that I am a Satanist, I don't find that offensive. I find that more, I guess that situation for me would be an opportunity to educate if they're open-minded enough, because there is a specific difference.
Of course. You still hold some reverence for Satan despite not identifying as a Satanist. What exactly does Satan mean to you? And is the Satan that you're into the same evil figure portrayed in the Bible?
But that's a very good question. And it's because I have a very personal answer for that. Because my personal gnosis, my experience that was revealed for me by this so-called Satan is not the same as a Christian viewpoint of Satan. He's not some liar. He's not trying to, kill people and things of that nature, not a mass murderer. From my own personal experience, I wouldn't be interviewed by you if it wasn't for this being. Satan, Lucifer, Enki, or whatever have you. I'm here because of this being. So it's not about bad mouthing. To me, it's more like I take the bad with the good. And it's only when I'm talking about Satan where I really do feel positive, and I do feel that I've learned a lot from it. And I try to extend that to other people. It's like extending that olive branch to someone else so that they too could learn. But I don't just stop there. I go to any magical system, even if it's Christian, like I said, if I could deal with Archangel Michael or Gabriel, then I'll do that too. To me, I'm just open.
And what would you say the main misconceptions about Satanism are?
Oh, yeah, that's a very, very good question, because again, I have a very personal experience for that one, that they're up to no good. Let me tell you, I remember when I was first introduced to the joy of Satan, I loved it so much that I got a tattoo of what is figuratively something that is satanic. It's a goat, you know, and that is like somewhat of a symbol of someone that is rebellious. So having that tattooed on my flesh, a big, huge tattoo, I had some sort of backlash in public that people got afraid because of the programming that people have on Satan and things of that nature. And I always taken that opportunity to help them to appreciate, like, first of all, it's just a tattoo. And two, it's not like it's the satanic panic where people would take it as they will, because that's no different going to any other group and they are practicing pedophilia or they're raping and killing. That's why I say there's bad eggs no matter where you go.
Yeah.
So that's how I see it.
I'm going to ask, this is a first for this channel. It's never been asked on this channel before. Okay. Can you show us your goat?
Oh, yeah, sure. Now, maybe you can't see it, but you see it there? That's my tattoo. Very cool. That just goes to show that for me, Satan always will be a part of me. Always will be, no matter where I go in life. Even though I primarily work with Hecate, who is like a goddess of the witches, so to speak, because I see myself and I consider myself a male witch, but I will always, always, always give that respect to Satan.
While some satanic groups seem fairly benign, others like, is it O9A and Temple of Satan have pretty dark views in line with the stereotypical perception of Satanism. Have you had any dealings with the main problematic satanic groups, and other than, of course, the Joy of Satan?
Not in a negative way. It was always positive. Like, I would have people from those groups message me, and I don't know if they're undercover. I don't know what their main mission is, but it was mostly positive. They would help me to appreciate, maybe you should not say this and say that. This is how we feel and things of that nature. It's almost as if they're giving me their point of view, and that's a current or modern point of view of, let's say, how they view things. Like, some people will compare Satanism to the OTO because I have Philema, you know, or they would compare that to the Order of Nine Angles, I believe, and things of that nature. But back in my mind, either these people were from those groups, they did in fact message me, but they didn't have a problem. I don't have a bad history, or at least not yet anyway.
And the growth of neo-Nazi Satanist groups have been in the news recently, with groups like the O9A being responsible for child abuse and acts of terrorism. What do you think could be done to prevent young people from being drawn to such groups?
To let them do what I do. Pick up new books. Don't put yourself in one box. Don't say this is the one and only way, you're superior to everyone. It's only when you become open-minded and you're able to look at many paths and many cultures, that's when you start to be, and this is the key word, exposed. You become more exposed, educated into what other people believe in. And I think that's one of the best medicines.
And finally, what would your advice be for young people who are thinking about joining a group like the Joy of Satan?
And for the third and final time, that's a good answer, because I have a very good personal answer for that. Because I was a Christian, and then from there I went to the Joy of Satan. I believe that path working was good for me. What I mean by that is this. I would advise for young people to understand that it's best to check out the world first. Look at other religions, look at how they see things, understand how they articulate things, and you may never know. You may not want to be a part of the Joy of Satan. You want to be a Christian, a Muslim, whatever works for you. I would say before you even get into it, you want to educate yourself. Education, knowledge is power. You don't want to stay in it too late where you become something that you never want to be, or you never meant to be, you know, and that's why I had to leave, because that's just not the path that I want to take.
Fantastic. Thank you. And before we wrap up, I just want you to let everyone know where they can find you.
Yes, definitely. I have my channel here on YouTube, and it's We Are Gods. Tap that up and you can look at my meditations, and I'm always there to message and to help educate people about plenty full of walks of life, not just Satanism, but other paths of life, so that you could educate yourself. We Are Gods. Fantastic. Thank you very much.
You can also find me on Twitter at Mr. King Reardon. All my links down below. Also, this t-shirt, and we're now with Organo, who sell amazing coffee. Link for that's down below as well. Anything helps to keep the channel going. Thank you so much. Spencer, thank you. I really appreciate you taking the time to come and chat with me, and I hope I get to chat with you soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Likewise.
Take care.